So it's a new club, a new season, a new challenge. Like and subscribe. We've joined Leeds. Let's go marching on together. What's up guys, ChasingLamely here with episode number 1 of Marching On Together as we have taken charge of Leeds United. As you'd expect, because we're actually starting season 4 of this save, we are just going to start this series, I guess, off with a bit of a transfer special. But before we do that, let's get into the info you need to know. So the club vision, for those who didn't see it before, we have to play entertaining football, attacking football, develop youngsters, sign under 23s, make the most of set pieces, grow the club's reputation, sign young players to develop for profit, work within the wage budget, sign players to sell for a profit, and offer minimum 3-year contracts to first team players. In order to get a mid-table finish, they're looking for top half next season before our contract expires. However, we only have £7 million in which to do it, and we have about £90,000 left over in the wage budget, so a bit of wheeling and dealing to go, because they finished, as you can see from the league table, 15th this season, despite being predicted to finish 9th. Now, I've had a little look-see at the squad, and I've been fiddling with a bunch of stuff, but basically there are 21 players at the club I intend to keep around probably. There are, however, 78 players at the club, which quick maths tells me is 57 players I need to get rid of, which luckily should bring in some cash, because I mean, basically the guys from here on upwards, with the exception of Oliver Skip and Rodrigo and Rapinha, are guys that I intend to keep. So those 3 will go. Skip's loan runs out anyway, and of course we've got Rapinha, who doesn't fit any system I use, and Rodrigo, who wants to leave. Everyone else wants to go, and if you see here, there's 13.5 million there, 15.5 million there, 21.5 million with Tyler Roberts, 17.25 million with Kanu, 9.5 with Herrera. There's solidly 50 million quid's worth, 60 million quid's worth probably of players there to get rid of. And then when you add in guys like Rapinha, who's worth 24, and Rodrigo, who's worth 22, I can probably bring in about 80 million pounds in players, maybe even 100 million pounds in player sales over the summer. That's going to be the plan. In terms of what I'm looking for transfer target wise, I'm looking for 2 strikers, because Joe Gelhardt is the only one really good enough to play up top, because Ertzi is much more of a winger, unfortunately, and can't finish anyway, so I don't really want him up top. So he'll probably play on the wing. Sam Greenwood, again, is probably better off on a wing, and although he can finish, might well be a right winger we kind of keep as a backup. But we don't have a lot of choices up top. I'd probably like to bring in 1 or 2 more wingers just to be on the safe side. And I think I'm probably in the market for a decent right back as well, just to round things off. I mean, in terms of the actual ability of the players in the squad, you can see we've got Calvin Phillips, of course. Robin Koch can play anywhere across the back, but he is best at centre-half. So we've got a good centre-half there. Florente's a good centre-half. Stuart Dallas is probably best at right back, and we will probably use him there. We've got Shackleton, who can play at right back, but is best in central midfield. And Jedvaj as a right back. We've got Verba, who can play as a left back. So defensively we're okay. Defense of this team is not too bad. Maybe I need a couple more central midfielders as well. We're just going to kind of play that by ear, see who I can get in, and see how that goes. But that's basically what the mission is in this. We're going to come back right at the end of the window now, and I will show you what I've managed to assemble. Okay, small update. The board appear to have increased everything and given us a transfer budget of 58.86 million, up from the 7 million we started with, and that 1.4 million budget for wages does give us 100 and something thousand to spend once you take into account committed and all that kind of stuff. So we appear to have found money for a challenge. We might bring in some big players. So we're back, we're at the end of the transfer window, and you guys know the drill by now. This is a good time to pause, make yourself a cup of tea, because if you're new to the channel, I don't do light transfer windows, and if you've been around for a while, you know what's coming. So if you haven't got a cup of tea, pause it, go make one, come back, I'll wait for you, and there we go. So let's start by the players who have come in. Now I said I needed strikers, and Ollie Watkins was the first man I brought through the door. He can of course play almost anywhere, but Ollie Watkins was a bargain at £5 million. £5 million all in. signed by Aston Villa in real life at the start of this season for 31 million. He's done nothing for them, but I feel confident when he's playing for England now. He must be fairly good, but 5 million for Ollie Watkins, I can't complain. He's by no means the best striker in the squad, but he'll do a job. He will do a job for us, and he can fill in so many places that I'm sure I'll find uses for him throughout the season. At 27 years old, I think he's a pretty strong signing. That's the first man through the door. Next to him was this guy, Jeremias Perestica, an Argentine under-20 international. I actually didn't sign him. This transfer was arranged before I got to the club, but I like the look of this kid. He's only young at 20. He's got some potential to go. I think his potential that's unrealistic. I think that's probably higher than that, because if you look at him, he's an advanced forward with a great first touch, great finishing, great dribbling, great passing, great technique. In places he isn't ticking boxes are in anticipation and off the ball. When he's quick, he's got decent enough stamina. These are the things that he's weak on are things we can work on fairly quickly in training. I might send him out on loan for a year, I might not, I haven't decided yet, but I've got a feeling this guy's going to score goals, and I'm quite happy that he came in. And he came in for the low fee of absolutely nothing, so we're not complaining. Next in was youngster Derek Finnegan. He came in from Charlton for £125,000. He can play in the centre of midfield, he can play in attacking midfield on the right wing. He's very much a project for the future. He will go on loan this season, he's not quite ready. We've already had some interest look from Leyton Orient. I just feel like this kid might have something special to offer long term, and for £125,000 I'm not going to turn that down. And this was the first really big money signing of the year. We've brought in Thibaut Persin, an under-21 Belgian international. He came in from Inter Milan. He's been on loan at Cremonese, Parma and Genoa. 20 million rising to 21 with a few add-ons. But he's not done too badly in Serie B. His report, he looks strong, he looks like a good player. He's 2.5 stars now, potentially 4 stars, and he's got enough time in front of him that he can A, develop, and B, be sold on for a profit. I'm quite happy with Thibaut Persin as a signing. I think he'll mostly play on the right wing for us, but we do have the option, of course, of using him as a right back as well, so he can do pretty much everything. I'm quite happy with the outlay. Next up was a right back who can play almost anywhere. Andreas Reitsamer came in from Bayer Leverkusen. He's an under-21 international for Austria, and he cost me the princely sum of 1.2 million. He's never played a professional game before, but I've got a feeling. That I mostly use wing backs and full backs, so he's got his bases covered there at a young age. Good determination. He will reach his potential. Quite like him as a signing. Next up, for £24.5 million, Argentine Emiliano Buendia came in from Newcastle. It seems weird signing a Newcastle player. They've just got relegated, but he had a release clause. He didn't actually play for them last season. He's actually had a few good seasons in the Premier League, and they signed him from Norwich for £45.5 million, which tells me this guy's probably alright. He's probably had some good seasons. I don't remember him playing for Norwich, so I can't comment on that at all. I've never seen him play for Norwich, but he looks like a solid signing on the right hand side. 3.5 stars makes him the best right winger at the club. Still got some room to grow at 26. He's going to get there because of his determination. But he's got that flair for that exciting football we've been told to play. He can dribble, he can cross, he can pass. I mean, everything ticks boxes. He could do with being maybe a little bit quicker. But we can try and push that in the development screening. That's very possible to just, I don't know why he's focusing on corners right now. If we focus in on quickness, I'm pretty sure we can get him up to 15s and he'll do alright for us. You got a little bit of a sneak preview there as well, because Ruben Blanco came in next. He's coming up from Celta Vigo for £9.25 million. I need a goalkeeper quite rapidly. You'll see why in a second. He was for £9.25 million as a goalkeeper, it doesn't get much better than that. I mean, I don't know why he's just 3 stars. He looks really special. So he's come in, another former under-21 international, Spanish under-21 international, but I think maybe this guy's got something that we need. And next in was an old favourite, Curtis Jones, who's been with us this entire series so far. Of course I was going to bring him in the first chance I got. He's joined us on loan from Liverpool. We're not even paying wages for him. It's a stupid decision by them. He's 22 years old now. I was paying £650,000 to loan him for the year, but frankly, that's worth every single penny in my eyes. We know how good this kid can be. You've seen what he can do so far. Unless you're new, of course, you haven't seen what he can do for us. You've been with us since the start. You know this guy. He came in. We used him originally as a left winger and converted him to a striker. We went to a 4-4-2, and the goals just kept coming. and I like having Curtis Jones around. I think he's a really good fit for this squad, so I'm glad I've brought him in. And next up was another goalkeeper, 34 caps for the Dutch national side from Feyenoord. Justin Bilo has come in. He cost us £24 million and he's an excellent signing. He's going to be our first choice keeper this season, which if you're a Leeds fan and has questions in your head already, I know I'm going to answer them, don't worry. But he's a solid player, he's a really good signing, and we've now got 2 quality goalkeepers at this level, which I can't complain about. I may have got overexcited on the goalkeepers. I've brought in another ex-Sunderland player, Joel Pereira. He was rubbish for us at Sunderland, but I thought I needed a backup goalkeeper because some of the transfer deals you've seen so far, they weren't going so well with the money. I brought him in just because I needed someone I knew that I could trust, and he's coming as third choice, and he'll probably stay third choice until I eventually sell him. So Joel Pereira came in. There's minor news. Another player who was brought in largely for reputation was Amin Younes, the German international. Can play on either wing, can play up front. He's just kind of a fill-in player. He's 30 years old. His physicals are going already, but his technicals, his mentals are still more or less there. He's cost us absolutely nothing to bring in from Napoli after they released him. I mean, he's had a good career with Ajax, with Borussia Mönchengladbach, with Kaiserslautern. He's been around a bit. He's had a pretty strong career, all told, in German football. And yeah, he's 2 stars. He's not going to play every week. He is very much a squad player, but I signed him for free and he's worth 20 million. So if I sell him in January, that's still good, solid, quick, easy profit, and we'll take it. I brought in some young players as well. So one of them that came in was Suf Podgoreniu. I have no idea if I said that right at all, but he's an Israeli international, 9 caps for Israel. Can kind of play everywhere, nowhere with any great proficiency, but I'm hoping he'll improve. He's supposed to have the potential. Don't know why it doesn't say it's up here. He's supposed to have the potential. I do know why, because I sent him on loan because he didn't get a work permit. He does have 4-star potential, so we're just very much going to let him stay on loan in Spain and see how he develops. He came in from Roma. He cost us absolutely diddly squat. He cost Roma £325,000, but he cost us nothing, so I thought we'd just give him a go, see what happens. Now, our last money outlay of the pre-season was this guy, Jakub Janto, a Czech international, 53 caps. He's coming from Sampdoria. He's pretty good on the left-hand side. He can play pretty much anywhere in midfield, and he's just a good all-rounder. Maybe nothing special, maybe not even a first-choice player. With a $5.5 million, I can't complain. Obviously, as I said, joined us from Sampdoria, where they spent $13.25 million on him last year. He's got a lot of caps. He's had a lot of appearances in Serie A. I think maybe he's going to be a guy that comes in, fills in, does a good job when we bring him in. Might even turn into a little bit of a breakout star for us, but we're certainly not going to lose money on him, and that's kind of important. So the rest of these signings are frees that they were available, and one of them is this Argentine under-20 international right winger, Augustine Fernandez. He looks alright. He's got a little bit of potential, not a lot of potential. He's got a little bit of potential, but he was free. He released by Atletico Tucumán in Argentina. I found him in the under-20 squad, so I thought I'd just pick him up and see what happens. He was available, he was free. There's nothing to lose here. Likewise, another find in the Argentine underage squad was this guy, Juan Cruz Cerrudo. He's a right winger. He's maybe not big potential, but again, he was free. He was available. I saw him. I signed him. That was the story there. And our final signing of the window was Sebastian Lahrena, who is the Argentine under-20 goalkeeper. Again, had been released by Aldosivi, his club. He was available on a free in the Argentine under-20 squad. He's got potential to have 4-star potential. He's not a horrible goalkeeper already, if I'm completely honest. He can do everything I need him to do, but he's got potential. He's 20 years old. He can be the 4th choice keeper in the squad. I'm fully prepared to loan him out. Coventry won him, and that's probably a good destination for him. But keep an eye on him. He's going to turn into a pretty special player, I think. Also worth knowing, our transfer total for this year brought in £90 million. That's more than I've spent the entire time I've been at Sunderland, I believe. Which brings us nicely to the £102 million I've brought in on players out. And the first one, I told you I needed goalkeepers, and this is why. Ilyan Meslier has gone to AC Milan. I know there are Leeds fans screaming at the screen right now, why have you let Meslier go? I know. But if you offer me 47 million, rising to 52 million, for a player that was valued at 23 million when I got here, that's a no-brainer, especially when I've replaced him twice and spent less than 2/3 of what I received for him. That That, my friends, is an absolute bargain. Also on the outs, Bruno Tabata. I don't think he's a current Leeds player in real life, but Bruno Tabata went to join Everton, and frankly, for 25.5 million, I mean, that's a 6 million profit on what he was bought for. He didn't set the world alight last year. I just thought maybe we'll just let him go. We'll let him go. I can't turn down money like that for a player who was at best a fringe player for me. So that's worked out nicely. Also on the outs, Matías Roja has gone for 14.5 million, Paraguayan international. I don't think he's actually there in real life. I think he got signed at the end of the first season for 3 million, and I sold him for 11, and that's 11 rising to 14.5. And again, he's had 2 seasons at the club and just not been very good. So why wouldn't I sell him? Also on the outs, I know this guy is a real life Leeds youth teamer. He is an England under-20 international. Nohan Kenner. He looked like he might develop into a decent player, but I didn't think he'd develop into a player I'd want to build the club around. So I thought I'd let him go because he had 3 games in the Premier League last season. He was okay, he was good. He does supposedly have quite big potential, I believe, but it says potentially 3.5. It's a 37 scout recommendation. The fans were actually annoyed when I sold this guy, but 7.5 million for him seems like a good choice. Likewise on the outs was Abdul Kadir Umur, a Turkish international, sold to AZ Alkmaar for 7.5 million. I did take a loss on him. He was bought for 10 million and he's been sold for 7.5, but he's averaging a 6.7 over the 2 seasons he's been in the Premier League. I can't justify keeping him around. That's not great numbers, and if you look at his stats as well, he's quick, but what else does he bring? I mean, what else does he bring? You look at that, okay, he brings quite a lot. But I still thought it was a good deal. I didn't think he was a guy I was going to use. I thought I could get a better player for less money than him. Yeah, I'm losing the flair, but I think actually we won't even miss him, to be honest. I also sold this Spanish youngster, Fabian Negrin, to Crystal Palace. He came in for 1.1 million from Manchester City. I sold him for 1.3. He's not all that special a player. I mean, he's a centre-half. He's got no strength. He can't jump. He can't head the ball. He can't tackle. Yes, he's 17. He'll improve. He'll grow. But even with that predicted big potential, I didn't think I'd give him enough games. And especially with that lack of determination, I didn't think he'd develop anyway. I thought we'd cut our losses and run and take the money. Now, mainly this, I think, might be a sale that can bite me. Mark Hughes is a centre-half that can play everywhere at the back. Again, he doesn't have the strength or the heading ability, the marking ability, but he was rated quite highly. He's also, he came in for 875,000. I sold him for $1 million. That's going to rise to 1.7 million. I didn't see a long-term place in the first team for him, and if he was going to get there, it was going to take a while. Again, I just thought I'd take the money, and if we need to buy him back, we'll buy him back. It's not a problem for me, quite frankly, but I'd rather take the money now. And if we have to buy him back for a couple of million later on, so be it. And our last money sale was Ian Carlo Poveda, who's gone to Eibar for 150,000. He's been around here, there, and everywhere recently, to be honest. Joined Man City from Brentford a few years ago. Originally came through at Barcelona. Joined Leeds for a fee no one really understands. Did a couple of spells out on loan, and he's not really set the world alight. I mean, he did okay in the Championship. I didn't think he was going to become anything, to be honest. And so I thought, let him go for 150,000 at 23. He's probably at or near his peak by now. So I thought, just let him go, and we'll take the money. And that's the last of the money sales. There's been a few players who've gone. So Jacob Whitehead has gone to Huddersfield. Will Brook has gone to Tranmere. Sam Turner to Fylde. If these names mean anything to you, feel free to let me know in the comments. Ryan Edmondson has gone. He is a youth team that was here when I got here, but he'd already arranged the transfer to Celtic. I think we talked about this before. I didn't really see him becoming anything anyway, so I wouldn't have missed him. I mean, he's not that special. He's just not that special, especially as a Premier League advanced forward, which is how I'd be looking to use him. I don't think he's special enough that I'm going to miss him. Also on the outs, Carney has gone on loan to Palmeiras for 135,000. Elia Caprile has gone to Leyton Orient for 23,000 on loan. Niall Huggins to St Mirren for 17.75. Stuart McKinstry to Barnsley for 16.75 thousand. Danny van den Heuvel has gone to Rochdale for £9,750. And Daniel Everson, same fee on loan to Genoa. So that's 3 goalkeepers out, 4 goalkeepers in. I think we've done okay there. Suf Podgorano, of course, has already got on loan to Cotrol Leonesa, and there's a couple of other players heading that way as well. Charlie Cresswell on loan to Bristol Rovers. Elijah Williams I've sent on loan to Sunderland. I don't know why they wanted this guy, because he's got 2-star current ability for us, and it won't let me click on him. I think he's got maybe 4-star potential for us as well, but he's not good enough. I mean, because I know the squad at Sunderland very well, as you can imagine at this point, I don't see how he gets in that side. I don't think he wouldn't get in that side right now. Potentially down the line, for sure, but I don't think he'd get in that side. I don't know why they've loaned him. Hopefully he'll play some football. I think they said they were going to use him as a squad rotation player. If I can find the thing where it says that. I can't. It's fine. They said they were going to bring him as a rotation option, and I don't think he's going to be a rotation option. He did come off the bench in the first game of the season for them. We're playing a couple of days behind the rest of the Premier League. He did come off the bench for them. He's played some under 19 games for England as well. It's an odd decision by them to loan him. I don't know why. Tyler Roberts went on loan to Nantes because I couldn't sell him. Augustine went on loan to Rangers. Again, I couldn't sell him, so they've both gone with their whole wage being paid, which is fine. And Morton Spencer joins Curzon Ashton, and that brings us nicely to where we are now, which is the game against West Brom, our first game of the season. It's on TV and everything, and we can just have a quick look at the table as it stands. We're sitting 13th. Us and West Brom are the only teams that haven't played yet. Brighton off to a stormer. They've smashed Sunderland. For those who are curious, we'll just have a quick look and see what happened in that game. We know it was a 3-0 loss. I'm just curious to see how they lined up, because, I mean, that's pretty much the same team I was using most of last season. Sarpreet Singh couldn't get a work permit. It doesn't look like that was a loss. They've brought in a few players. I know Mohamed Elyounoussi, I don't think was a signing I made. It doesn't sound like a signing I'd make. 17 million quid from Southampton. I reckon they'd have to spend about 300 million to stay up, if I'm honest, because that squad I brought up was full of League One players. I mean, you can see they used Shea Yojo, Franco Soldano came in, Elijah Williams, I said, came off the bench. Here the signing they've made is this guy, who is Morgan Whittaker, who has come from Derby, and he's had 27 goals in 107 games for Derby County, and they've brought him in as a striker. I think they're doomed. For those who might be curious as well, because while I'm here I might as well show you this. Jess Thorup is the guy who replaced me. He is the best manager in Denmark's history. That is a milestone that came up. I don't know if I can find it here. He's reached the top of the Danish Hall of Fame this season, was offered the job at Sunderland, took the job at Sunderland. He's made some decisions. Sold Liam Miller to Trabzonspor, brought in this Elyounoussi guy, sold Lyndon Gooch to Swansea, bought Greg Taylor from Augsburg. I know nothing about this guy, but I know that squad didn't need another left back. I know that for a fact, that squad didn't need another left back. Their transfer dealings in this window have been questionable at best. I mean, Ethan Walker, look at that guy, is he worth £1.6 million? Not unless his potential is obscene, and I don't think it will be. They've brought in this Dave Harvey on. They've brought in Dave Harvey on loan from Wolves. Wolves are in the Championship. He doesn't look particularly special, and they've brought him on loan to the Premier League from the Championship. The mind boggles. The mind boggles as to what they're doing. Now I've gone. And then Michael Murphy, who might have been this may have been a signing I arranged. I don't think it was. He's come in from Swansea, and again, I don't think he's that special. I don't think he's that special. They've made some very questionable decisions since stopping me from making signings. I mean, the Del Rio signing, the Gibraltarian, that happened while I was still at the club, but I had no hand in that. No hand in Leon Bello, no hand in, you see Leon Bello's stats there. What is that mess? They've signed a player on a free transfer that was released by Filed. I mean, this is what scares me about leaving this club. They're going to plummet back to League One rapidly. Jordan Harrison came in from Watford. He's a central midfielder, and I mean, I'm not seeing anything there that excites me in a central midfielder or in a winger or in anything. It's a bizarre signing. Zidane Iqbal, I know I organised this signing. He was one for the future, and he would be really good for them long term. In that squad, he'd be decent for us long term, but I mean, he didn't even play. He didn't even play in their first game. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words. Anyway, that's the sum total of our transfer business. We've got a coach coming in as well, but you can see here, this is our dealings this season. 90 million out, 102 million in. That's a solid profit already. Financially, we're in trouble, but that will come back to us with TV fees and such, prize money. That will come back to us. We're not panicking. I think we've done well. We can look at what the fans think of my transfer business, because there's bound to be some kind of rating. C+ from the board, C+ from the fans. There were players they weren't happy. I mean, the board were quite happy with most of my signings, to be honest. The fans may be disappointed with, like, Yunus. They weren't happy about, but whatever. They weren't happy about Joel Pereira, but it was never brought in to make them happy. They weren't happy about Podgorano, who's very much a player for the future. And again, on the outs, they weren't happy that I sold Ilya Meslier, but the board were like, well, he made some money, so whatever. Saying they weren't happy with me selling Matthias Rojas, and the board were pretty happy with that. Better, they didn't like me getting rid of. The board thought it was a mistake too, but they were both wrong. And Umur, the board hated that more than the fans. So, the Tyler Roberts, in fact, they hated me sending it on loan, because I could have got a fee for him, apparently. But the fans, they don't care. Anyway, I'm very aware that time is pressing on. I've been doing this is so much longer an episode than I intended it to be, and I almost clicked the wrong intro screen. There we go. We can wrap this up now. Thank you for watching, guys. Sorry it's been a long episode. Transfer specials, they tend to drag on because I told you to make a cup of tea. If you didn't, that's your fault. Find me on social media. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Patreon at ChasingLamely. You can like and subscribe, because liking and subscribing means you'll stay up to date with the series. Magic Graphic will remind you to ring the bell and hit all notifications, because that way you'll get a notification when the next episode goes up, which will be Thursday, where we'll play that first game with West Brom. And until next time, guys, I have as always been Chasing Lamely. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all very soon. Have a good one.